Chrystia Freeland today has announced a new rebate for Canadians because it seems luring Canadians in with fake rebates is the only tactic they have to try getting some popularity. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today, let's jump into this. Chrystia Freeland was at a bike shop to announce, this is so goofy, to announce their new incentives for small businesses. She wasn't there alone though. She was with Richie Valdez, the Minister for Small Business. This is basically her first time to actually speak on camera, more or less. I've never heard her actually speak. She's clearly very much programmed and trained by Trudeau.
There are some, like the Conservative leader, who don't share our vision. He's already said he will not support our budget. He has said he will vote against financial support for small businesses, just like this one. He doesn't recognize the incredibly important role you play in our economy, in our communities, in our prosperity. He doesn't support making Canada's tax system more fair and making sure that the wealthiest pay their fair share. Because ultimately, he believes that the job of government is to do little, then less, and ultimately as close as possible to nothing at all. So let's be honest about what austerity and shrinking the state would mean for Canadians. It means you're on your own. And that is not the Canadian way. We take care of each other.
No, Canadians want to be on our own. Let us pay our minimal amount of taxes. We can pay for our own food. We don't need your national school food program. We don't need your dental plan. We don't need any of those plans. Just let us keep our money. That is what being a Canadian is all about, not the government stealing all of our money.
Today, we say to our younger generations and to those who care about them, we are putting the power of government to work for you. Together, we will unlock the door to the middle class for more Canadians and renew the promise of our great country.
Yeah, that's all I have to say to that. The promise of our great country, sure. Let's jump into this interview now with Vassy and Richie, the small business minister, and they break down the new changes. They've made a few changes, and they've also got a new rebate. Woo! Spoiler alert, it's not fair.
The theme of the budget is to deliver, quote, fairness for every generation. The budget contains nearly $53 billion in new spending over 5 years and maintains Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland's pledge to hold the line on the deficit, which will be nearly $40 billion for the 2024-25 fiscal year. That does include $19 billion geared toward housing, just over $10 billion for defense, and $9 billion for Indigenous communities. But like the majority of this government's budget, this one does not include a path to balance. As for how Ottawa intends to pay for some of its new measures, the feds plan to change the capital gains tax by increasing the taxable portion from half to 2/3 for all corporations and for individuals with a capital gains above $250,000. That tax increase is expected to generate $19.3 billion in revenue over 5 years. So why does the government think that tax change is the right approach? Richie Valdez is the Minister of Small Business. She's with us now.
She looks nervous.
Thank you so much, Vassy. Thanks for having me.
Minister, did your government hike the capital gains tax so you can wedge the Conservatives with it, or because you actually believe it's good policy?
Well, just to take a step back, Budget 2024 is really all about creating fairness for every generation, whether you're a new couple trying to purchase your first home, a family, or even a small business. Through the capital gains or the lifetime capital gains exemption, what it's actually doing for small businesses, benefiting them because we've increased the ceiling from 1 million to 1.25 million. And in addition to that, it's above and beyond the 1.25 million, the 250,000 the first 250,000 is actually at a inclusion rate of 50%.
So you believe that it is sound policy. It's not being employed by your government. Would I be fair to interpret your comments as solely to use as a political wedge? Because in the comments that I've heard from the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister since the tabling of the budget, this is what they're focused on. They're trying to say the Conservatives will not go after the wealthy, while this new tax and the tax hike rather from your government is emblematic of the fact that Liberals are prepared to.
Again, what we're really trying to do through Budget 2024 is to create fairness for every generation. And through Budget 2024, the lifetime capital gains exemption is really going to benefit the majority of small businesses. And we also created, in addition to that, a Canada Entrepreneur Incentive to actually, on top of the inclusion rate there that I mentioned earlier, it's an additional $2 million on top of that at an inclusion rate of 33.3%. That's really to spur and incent innovation for small SMEs across the country.
So if this policy and the suite of policies that you've introduced are designed to do that, as you say, incent innovation and grow the economy, why are so many groups who represent people who do that so critical of what you've done? And I'll point you, Minister, to a few examples. The Canadian Council of Innovators, for example, says those folks who join startups and scale-ups as they're beginning their journey are provided stock options and other benefits, which are ultimately determined as capital gains in the future. It's marketing experts, sales experts, legal experts that are traditionally mid-career that you're completely undermining by this type of policy lever that's being implemented. The Canadian Venture Capital and Private Equity Association says this measure, which effectively taxes innovation and risk-taking, will significantly dampen Canada's entrepreneurial spirit, stifle economic growth in critical sectors of our economy, and impact job creation. Why do they think that if you're contending the opposite?
Something to note too here to expand on that. So that's basically like a lot of the lawyers, the doctors, people who have the more money. They're not the big corporations, but they're, you know, the everyday people with good jobs. A lot of those people, like she said, the capital gains on stock options and stocks and all that kind of stuff you get with companies signing in. And these people employ a lot of people and they give good paychecks. But by increasing the capital gains, like that is one of the major benefits of Canada. That's why people were setting up businesses and corporations and stuff here, is because of that. And it's like you're kicking out the upper middle class, which people are just going to shut down and there'll be less jobs. It's not how to build a country, is to punish the people who make money. It doesn't incentivize to work hard and build a big business.
Canada has a very competitive environment. Canadian small businesses have the lowest marginal effective tax rate in the G7. And if you compare us to the US, all 100% of capital gains in the US is being charged to corporations. Here in Canada, we believe in encouraging and incentivizing innovation. We've done that through our additional measure of investing in artificial intelligence of $2 billion, $200 million of which are going directly to help AI, specifically to support startups.
And I certainly wouldn't take away from that announcement and the focus on AI. But when you talk about, for example, the marginal tax rate, this change to the capital tax regime actually increases our marginal tax rate relative to other countries. We were kind of in the middle of the pack, and this, when it comes into effect, will bring us to the top. And on the issue of spurring innovation, I mean, we have a terrible record on productivity. The Deputy Governor of the Bank of Canada just weeks ago said it was an emergency situation wherein the glass needs to be broken. Do you really feel that what you're talking about addresses that issue? Because again, those people who are responsible for innovation in this country say it does the opposite.
I think that's a great question. We do want to support and encourage innovation and, of course, increase productivity. We've done that through our Canada Digital Adoption Program. AI definitely is one way we can do that. And again, through the lifetime capital gains exemption.
What she's talking about here is the lifetime capital gains exemption, which was 1 million or 1 million, whatever, 16,000. Now it's 1.25 million. What qualifies for the lifetime capital gains exemption? It usually applies to the sale of businesses' qualified shares. Example, you sell 60% of the stock you own in your business. This is not the sale of assets, the buildings, as I said here, buildings or any sort of physical assets. So it's the sale of your stocks, your shares. They're basically saying, oh, well, we moved that up an extra $250,000. Increasing the capital gains is going to just period the exemption after 250 up to 2/3, 66% inclusion. It's bad. If we look here, this is a Canadian business sentiment trends, which you can see here. This is basically the line here at 50. It says here, a reading below 50 indicates business owners feel conditions will be worse in 12 months' time. So this is people feeling worse. This is people feeling better. This is 2023. So people are feeling down in the dumps here in November, December. I can only imagine this just goes down from here.
Respectfully, though, why should Canadians trust the plan your government's put in place that you say will incentivize or lead to a boost in productivity when the exact opposite has been true of the measures that you've put in place so far, despite what you've done and the measures that you point to, for example? Productivity in this country is at an emergency level. That's not me saying that. That's the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Canada.
We recognize it's a very challenging time, and then through the different measures that we put in place through Budget 2024, it's not only going to be able to create fairness for every generation, and I think about my kids, Kyle and Cassidy, and the world that they're living in, because there's also much broader concerns that we're also trying to address, which is making sure we're building more housing, and again, through the lifetime capital gains exemption, that increase from 1 million to 1.25 million will be able to help and benefit the majority of small and medium-sized businesses.
Again, though, with great respect, Minister, I have to press you on your government's record there, because when I look at some of the statistics about how the economy is growing or how the workforce is growing, it is heavily weighted towards the public service. In the last year, 202,000 jobs were added in the public sector, just about 141,000 in the private sector. But here's the catch. If you take into account the decline in self-employment, it's only about 122,000 jobs in the private sector. This is all according to math the Globe and Mail has done. 90% of those jobs created in the private sector are in just one province, in the province of Alberta. If self-employment is on the decline, how is the environment that your government set up actually going to incentivize the opposite to happen? Because the one that's already there, the economy that your government has overseen, is doing the exact opposite. I'm
going to address in a couple ways. First and foremost, we cut taxes for small and medium-sized businesses from 10.5% to 9%. So we did that. One of the things we're also very focused on is really leveling the playing field for entrepreneurs. And in particular, to mention the Women Entrepreneurship Strategy, that's an investment of $7 billion that's really helped over 30,000 women entrepreneurs across this country. And by having more women participating in the economy through the $10 a day childcare program or through a Women Entrepreneurship Strategy, that's going to help add an additional increase of $150 billion in GDP. We're going to continue to invest in our entrepreneurs across the country and, of course, make it a more inclusive environment for them to be able to do so. But
respectfully, Minister, when you talk, for example, about increasing women's participation in the labor force, which your policy on daycare has very distinctly done, I want to make sure you get credit for that. That is not a sign of of an environment of more small businesses. The opposite has happened. There's a decline in self-employment. More people are working, but they're working for other people. The entrepreneurial spirit that you're referencing has not been incentivized by your government. And what we're hearing from people in that space is that this budget does more to go in the wrong direction.
Again, we are going to continue to support SMEs across the country, and then by introducing measures like increasing the lifetime capital gains exemption from 1 million to 1.25 million, and 60 million is going to go towards Futurepreneur, who is investing and helping support young entrepreneurs across this country.
She's trying to stay on script here. She's just a broken record going back and forth, back and forth. Let's take a look at what Vassy's talking about here. So you see this, what is happening in Canada? Canadian bankruptcy filings are skyrocketing. Nearly 800 bankruptcy filings in January 2024 alone. This comes after bankruptcy filings in 2023 jumped nearly 40% year over year. Currently, the number of businesses filing for insolvency at the highest rate in 13 years. In January, small businesses faced deadlines to repay interest-free loans of $45,000 given during the pandemic. We knew those loans were going to come back and bite people in the butt. They rolled that program out in such a bad way. And then they're just coming back like a crime boss, like, oh, give us our money. Small businesses currently account for 33% of Canada's GDP. We'll get back to GDP here in a second, but is Canada bracing for a recession? So we're looking at this here. And we may open this up. Like, these are bankruptcy filings. You can see here, bankruptcy are rising. And what is this? Kaboom. Canada's not in a good state. We've got just businesses going out. We've got a bunch of people chanting in the streets every day. There's not enough people working. There's not enough people paying taxes.
The number of self-employed workers in this country since the pandemic started, has declined roughly 7%. Do you actually believe, as the minister who oversees this part of the economy and self-employed people and small businesses, do you actually believe that they feel that this country, this economy, makes them want to do that? Like, do you think there are people out there who think that risk is worth it right now with the economy that your government oversees?
I've met with many small and medium-sized businesses across this country, and I've had conversation with them. They are looking to start their business, and we're trying to encourage and be able to do so by different measures to create a more inclusive environment for entrepreneurs.
Mr. Ricci, you're failing. You're failing badly, just like one of these other Trudeau losers. Just another broken part of our government. So let's go over to GDP now. I got another clip here. So the Amazing Zoltan's got a pretty funny clip, the way it's edited, but it shows it off pretty well here.
You've mentioned fiscal responsibility a few times this morning, but the deficit remains significant. Healthcare charges are being overwhelmed by debt servicing fees. And the debt, which is now over $1 trillion, will continue to grow. So how does that amount to fiscal responsibility?
Okay, I am grateful for the question. It's so important for Canadians, for Canadian analysts, for Canadian journalists to take a look at the international comparisons. This week was the week of the IMF World Bank meetings. Canada has the lowest deficit to GDP ratio in the G7.
Here we go.
That's not a partisan assertion. That is a fact. When I say we have the lowest debt to GDP ratio, that is not a partisan assertion. That is simply a fact. It means that the size of our debt relative to the size of our economy is getting smaller every year. That's like paying down your mortgage. That is a very sustainable place for our country to be, and that is the right thing.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that. Let's bring that back. So she keeps bringing up the debt to GDP ratio. Our debt to GDP ratio, we're dead last. Even though she says we're first, it's because they're using the Canada Pension Plan, the CPP, as a bundled part of the GDP. This is a whole ton of money, an epic ton of money that the government can't spend, but it's bundled in with the GDP numbers to inflate it. We're actually dead last if you take that out. In the other countries, they don't have that as part of their GDP. That's why it's just cherry-picking nonsense, as usual, from Chrystia Freeland. Look at this. This is not good. You can see here, Canadian real estate prices compared to G7 peers. Like, we're off the charts. The chart probably ended down here somewhere, and they had to make it bigger for Canada. At this point, this is not just a bunch of idiots doing stupid things. Like, they're intentionally running this country into the ground. And speaking of which, we've got some clips to show you here. This one, Liberals set internal goal of narrowing the polling gap by 5 points come July. Really? Really? Is that what you guys are going to do? Is that with the new rebate? Oh, yes, we got the rebate. Let's bring that out. Here we are. So we're on the budget 2024, growing small businesses. This is a news release today. It's today for me. It'll be tomorrow for you guys. This new refundable tax credit will urgently return proceeds from the price on pollution from 2019 to 2020 through 2023 through 2024 to an estimated 600,000 businesses with 499 or fewer employees. I tell you, I got really excited. Like, this is it. I'm finally going to get my Canada carbon rebate, the business rebate. And then I read the next line, in provinces where the federal backstop applies. I still don't get one of these stupid rebates because I'm in BC, because of David Eby. He's just going to pocket the money for himself and launder it through the EV grants program to MNP, the accounting firm. Nobody in BC gets anything except the members of the government who work with MNP laundering our money. Everything is so corrupt in this damn country. It's unbelievable. For all the businesses out there who aren't in BC or Quebec, you will probably get something. It doesn't say how much money you get back in this thing. This would deliver $2.5 billion direct to small and medium-sized businesses. The only requirement to receive automatic ongoing direct payments is to be eligible business to file their tax. It's terrible. Let's take a minute here. I have a lot of people who send a lot of stuff to me. A paramedic sent me information today, and I thought, let's have a moment of thanks and condolences for a couple people here today. So in Ottawa, there's 3 people who... let's try this again. So in Ottawa, there's 3 people who decided to move on to Neverland. We'll call it that. It's a place where Justin Trudeau doesn't exist. It's a place where his policies cannot cause suffering to someone. And one of those people was a military member. I believe it was Michelle Ferreri who went and talked to a food bank in Ottawa, and she found out that there's at least 30 families being fed, that they're military families being fed by the food bank. That's how bad Justin Trudeau is treating these people. For active military members, they can't even afford to eat. A lot of these people sleep in their cars. It's so bad for our military. These are people that will put their lives on the line. They signed up and they're like, yep, I'm going to protect this country in a time when we've got two big global conflicts going on, and they can't even afford food. They can't even afford places to live. And it's gotten so bad that one of those people, the same age as me, took his life today. So yeah, things were too hard for him, and he decided that he couldn't handle what Trudeau is doing to us in this country anymore. And it is deplorable that our military is treated so poorly. These are people who have signed up to defend us, and they can't even get the basics in life. This is news you won't find on the mainstream media. They won't talk about this. But I just thought, if there's any family member out there of the three people that today in just Ottawa, we're not even talking across Canada, 3 people in just Ottawa who decided to go to Neverland, including the military member. Thank you for your service. I'm sorry that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals did not take care of you, but I would like to recognize that person and say my condolences to your family, to all the families in Ottawa and all the families across Canada who have just gone past their breaking limit of Trudeau, and all the people yesterday and all the people last week and last month and last year that Trudeau has just broken. It's tough times in this country. And if you feel like you're on the edge and you need help, you need to talk to somebody. You have to, it doesn't matter who it is, just call somebody, talk to somebody, anybody. You can jump in, just look in the comments of this video if you're watching this, my FB group, jump in there and just start talking to us on there. If it's too much of an open forum, there's 700 people in there. You can send me a message directly. If you need someone to talk to, send me a message. I was bottom of the barrel myself 6 months ago, and all of you watching are the ones who pulled me out of it. When you're in that position, you need to get it out of your soul and you need to feel heard. And if you don't feel heard, then it just gets worse and worse. You have to talk to somebody. With that said, let's move on here in the show. Next up, what we got here is something that's not flowery nice. It's something that needs attention, though, in Canada. This guy's teaching people how to get free food from the food bank for international students, basically taking advantage of this. This is Canadians' dollars paying for this, and these international students are finding ways to steal our giving to people who need it. This is disgusting.
This is how I save hundreds of bucks every month in food and grocery. All these groceries for this week I got free. This for every...
So this music's probably copyrighted, but you can see here they have hot food, university food, blah, blah, blah. Most of the universities and colleges have this stuff.
Trust, churches, या फिर non-profit organizations. Let me show you what I got this week. You can take as much as you want. सारे basic fruits and vegetables, bread, sauces,
pastas, canned vegetables, beans.
Been very helpful to me as a student. Check with your seniors or university websites and you'll get the location of the food banks.
Gross, man. This is gross. This is for people who really need it, not international students with their BMWs just taking advantage of the system. Like, this guy's been absolutely blasted. This, you can see this one, 63,000 views. This got shared all over the place. This guy got so roasted. I checked his Instagram because I was going to have a few choice words with this guy. He's deleted it. As far as I'm concerned, as this says, deport this guy. Get him out of our country. You do not belong here. This is not what Canada is about. Stealing from the poor. That's what this is. As you can see here, all these people saying deport. Dude, the food banks are for people below poverty line, not a hack for students. What did I just see? Yeah, this is deplorable. Next up, we've got this stuff. I don't even want to talk about this stuff. I have to show you guys what's going on. So the Palestine protesters are going bonkers here. It's not the drums, it's not the flags, it's the stuff like calling for revolution.
From the river to the sea, and proof that we are almost free. October 7th is proof that we are almost free. Long live October 7th. Long live the resistance. Long live the Intifada. Long live every form of resistance. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea.
When conservative truck drivers did this, the government arrested them all and froze their bank accounts. Yeah. And where are the police now? That other clip, like a week ago, they're right outside Trudeau's office calling for revolution. This is not Canada, and this is happening everywhere now. If you look what's going on in France, I don't think I can show the clips. It's like a full-on invasion, and it's just getting outrageous in every country, and you just see massive amounts of people calling for mass deportation. It's sad because there's a small group of people here that are going to ruin it for the rest of them. They're actually living the Canadian life. They're paying taxes. They're integrating into Canadian culture. There has to be a rule here where you can't protest every single day. It's like once a week, once a month, not just cause havoc all the time. What we see here is a shot from Colombia where people came out to protest the far left. It's happening everywhere. Yeah, sadly, we don't see that in Canada because everyone's too busy working all the time just to pay the bills. This is ridiculous. At what point is this not a crime to block all this transit? Some of the footage in France is too spicy, but this one I can show you guys. Basically, you can see here there's people who visit or permanently move to another country has the obligation to treat that country with respect. You start importing people without vetting them first, you import this kind of garbage people. I don't think there's audio on it, but basically these people are running around, they're trashing everything, they're throwing these smoky objects. It's like, why would you, like, this just be immediate deportation, like round up in a cop car, right in a plane, and right the heck out of the country. There's other footage where they run through the streets and they throw these things at people. And then the cops are like, oh, well, I might hurt their feelings if I go to arrest them. So we'll just let them destroy everything. Like, that's what we're at now with this, all this Western woke crap. So here's another shot from France. So I gotta have to mute that because you can see here, like, it is just mayhem. It's just like an absolute mess. Yeah, these guys are roughing each other up, and it's turned into just a nightmare. There was a bunch of guys trashing a whole bunch of like really fancy cars that were driving by. They were grabbing anything, just start smashing the windshields. At that point, if you're doing all this property damage, these people should be, anyone doing the damage, and this should be in the case in Canada too, we should put these people in factories that are prisons, and you have to work off the damage. If you did $200,000 of damage, well, you're in there for 10 or 20 years or whatever it takes you to pay that off. So here's some other footage. Yeah, we're gonna mute that one as well, but tour bus trying to get out of there. I don't understand why the cops don't at least have those beanbag rounds they put in their pew-pews. Oh, that's right, they're woke. Woke till we're all broke. And finally, we're gonna end this episode with it being Moose on the Loose with, well, the one and only a moose. What is this guy doing? Dude, no, don't pull your phone, just run away. It's a moose. They're like 8 feet tall. What is he doing? No. What was that? This guy's such an idiot, so never do that. Because this guy got lucky the moose didn't trample him. If the moose trampled him, he would have just, like, right through his lungs, like, snappity snap snap. That would have been all. So, or you get one of these pokey bits going in, and that doesn't feel good. I guess playing dead worked in this situation. Yeah, so let me know in the comments down below. Some of you will be getting some sort of rebate. We don't know what rebate, but it is a rebate if you have a small business with 499 employees or less. If you live in BC or Quebec like me, you're screwed. Once again, big thanks to our military out there, and a big thank you to all of our veterans out there who, like our current military, the veterans are also not taken care of by the government. Obviously, Trudeau Liberals don't care about Canadians, they care about themselves, and everything they've done, including giving themselves a raise and then giving us a carbon tax, highlights that perfectly. So Thanks for watching the end of the video here. We're going to keep fighting for freedom one day at a time. We're one day closer to getting rid of Trudeau. This day will come. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one.